Okay, everyone, we are closing the doors. We're closing the doors now, so we'd like to ask everyone, please take your seats. As we're about to start, please take your seats as we're about to close the doors now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the definition of leadership? A leader is born or a leader is made? Are you a leader? Am I a leader? Is everyone in? a leader. Your Excellency, the Governor, Ms. Helen Kilpatrick, the Honourable Deputy Governor, Mr. Franz Manderson, the Honourable Minister for Finance and Economic Development, Mr. Roy McTaggart, Member of the Legislative Assembly and Councillor from the Ministry of Education, Ms. Barbara Connolly, Member of the Legislative Assembly and Councillor from the Ministry of Human Resources, Immigration and Community Affairs, Mr. Austin Harris, Member of the Legislative Assembly and Councillor from the Ministries of Transport and Sports, Mr. David White, Chief Officer from the Ministry of Health, Environment, Culture and Housing, Ms. Jennifer Ahern, Chief Officer from the Ministry of Human Resources and Immigration, Mr. Wesley Howell, Acting Chief Officer from the Ministry of Community Affairs, Ms. Teresa Echeniki, YCLA Guest Speaker, Mr. Craig Kielberger, YCLA 2017 finalists, sponsors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the 2017 Young Cayman Leadership Awards. Thank you very much. My name is Chris Duggan. It's my pleasure to be the host of this evening's event. And on behalf of my colleagues on the honorary board of the YCLA, it's my pleasure to welcome you all here this evening and to thank you all for coming out to join us. We celebrate another year of outstanding young Caymanian leadership, and we celebrate another 5 incredible young leaders who've made a difference in our community. And I'd like to welcome especially all those people at home who are tuning in live on Cayman Life TV, Channel 33, and streaming live around the world on Facebook. You're all very welcome, and thank you all very much for joining us tonight. For 18 years, ladies and gentlemen, the YCLA has been recognizing and rewarding outstanding young Caymanian leadership. And this evening we'll again recognize 5 young leaders who have all made a difference in our community. But why are we here? Why do we come together each year to celebrate these outstanding young leaders? Why is it necessary? And what exactly does it achieve? Well, ladies and gentlemen, when you see and hear on an almost daily basis about the unacceptable actions and behaviors of some of our world's most senior leaders, admired role models, and trusted professionals, it's a wake-up call that we cannot disregard. From business leaders to world leaders, from sports leaders to Hollywood leaders, the word leadership is really coming under assault on almost a daily basis. These leaders who are role models to our children, who we admire on the big screen, and who we rely on to uphold the highest levels of morals and integrity in our world, are repeatedly letting us down. They're repeatedly leading us the wrong way, and they are repeatedly exhibiting behavior that is not conducive to the growth and the development of our youth. They are discharging their responsibilities as leaders and role models with a level of reckless abandon that has not been seen or heard of for decades. That, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why we're here tonight. We must continue to identify, to develop, and to recognize and promote all young Caymanians that are prepared to be upstanding leadership role models for our youth. Role models that are going to choose the right path, role models that are going to set the right examples, and role models that are going to be the new generation of leaders. We need to identify and showcase those individuals that are going to prove that it does not pay to go the other way, that are going to prove that it is not cool to go the other way, and they're going to live their lives leading the youth of our country the right way. We need to harness their dedication and their determination to make a difference in our community and to ensure that they dominate the headlines for the right reasons. We need them to change the mindsets of those that might otherwise follow a different path to that of the exemplary ones followed by each one of tonight's 5 finalists. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what the YCLA is about. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why we're here tonight. So at the top of the show, I asked a number of questions about leadership, questions that are so often asked and questions that have so many different answers. I'm sure if I were to ask each of us in this room tonight to define what does leadership mean, we'd get over 300 different responses. But we do, ladies and gentlemen, have 5 outstanding young leaders that we're recognizing this evening. So I think we should find out what leadership means to each one of them. So please give our 5 finalists a hand as I invite them on stage to join me in no particular order. Miss Yentel Magor, Miss Faith Geely, Mr. Matt Brown, Miss Stacey Sabersma, and Miss Alice Ramos, our 2017 YCLA finalists. Instead of having 5 individual microphones to to give out or to make it easy for them and pass one microphone down the line, we brought our little throw mic here. So we're going to have a little bit of fun throwing the mic around, just asking them a few questions. So as I said at the beginning, well, first of all, congratulations to you all for being a finalist of the 2017 YCLA. It's an amazing accomplishment. You're here because you do amazing things in the community. So thank you for what you do in the community. You're all looking great, and I hope you enjoy the evening. So at the top of the show, I was asking these questions. What is leadership? What's the definition of leadership? So if I can ask you all, just in a couple of words, just to tell us what your definition of leadership is. And I'll throw you the mic, and let's start with Alice. Let's do the long one first. There you go. Great catch.
A leader is someone who is engaging.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Yentel, what's your definition of leadership?
Who unapologetically stands up.
Thank you. Did we all hear that? Say it one more time. Oh. Let me down. All right, John, can we have the podium mic on maybe, and we'll try and get the throw one working.
A leader is someone who unapologetically stands up for what they believe in and empowers others to do the same.
Thanks very much, Enzel. And Stacey, let's try with the throw mic and see if it's working. If not, you can join me over here.
No? Yeah, there we go. A leader is someone who is very passionate about what they do and what they believe in.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Faith, over to you. There you go. Great. Oh, no. Ooh, it's a hard throw. Thanks. And last but not least, our lone man on the stage.
Test, yes. Somebody who's a risk taker, who isn't afraid.
Great. Thank you all very much. So our definitions of leadership from our 5 finalists. And over the years, ladies and gentlemen, we have had 16 recipients of the YCLA, and each one every year has a platform that they talk about throughout the course of the year. So I'm going to ask each of you, if you're selected as the recipient of the 2017 YCLA, what will your platform be? And let's start this end.
Mentoring the youth in career development and career progression.
Thank you very much. We'll go back to the end. Alice?
I plan to guide our youth through various community service programs, and with this I hope that they're able to make right life choices.
So we've just heard from all our finalists, but I know they all recently caught up with our videographer to record a short clip about who they are and about what they do. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy our first YCLA finalist video and meet Miss Stacy Cybersma. Isn't she fantastic, lady? Oh, there we go.
People laughing. I'm really inspired by goodness, whether that's the ocean going for a dive, whether that's a person who is really trying to make a difference. To spread environmental. I really would love to get into the schools, talk about the importance of our ocean, its vulnerabilities, how it impacts our everyday life. My first talk was on potential. It was about all the ways life. I want to make people understand it so that they can and know the little things, little lifestyle differences. One of the things I do in my free time is I volunteer in the National Environmental Advisory Committee. So I work with the to look at some of the recovery program, the Senior Reserve, the Domestic Trail, and help them build up their programs to make them the best that they can be. We really live in a beautiful place where tourism. I give a lot of my time to speak this understanding of what only open doors.
Well done, Stacy. She really is an environmental champion, so thank you very much, Stacy, for all you do. Later this evening, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be inviting a representative from KPMG to come up on stage to hand me the envelope with the name of our 2017 recipient. But before that, I'd like to recognize and thank KPMG, both for their sponsorship and for their willingness to coordinate the tabulation of the judges' votes this year. KPMG are a leader in their industry, and their active support of recognizing and rewarding young Caymanian leadership is both admirable and very much appreciated. So thank you very much, KPMG. And the elegance and the beauty of our decor this evening is a fitting backdrop for our young leaders. Miss Joanne Brown and the team at Celebrations have once again done an outstanding job decorating the room and designing the set for this evening's event, and we also thank them very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy our second YCLA finalist video and meet Miss Alice Ramos.
In high school, I loved watching movies.
Alice Ramos didn't find her calling to service until after high school. When she did, it became an integral part. She is.
When I came back from university, I wanted to utilize my time towards that.
And that she has.
I got involved with Bird Rock tonight and immediately fell in love with the people as well as the organization. Almost every weekend I was doing something. Absolutely loved it.
Among the work she's most proud of, an initiative called Put Your Best Foot Forward, providing shoes for students.
We were able to sponsor 25 students during the summer, and then we were able to sponsor another 25 students Christmas of that year. So that was really.
Alice seems to approach everything she does with a determination to do it well. She works hard. Nothing is by accident. Working in finance at certain she took on the challenge.
I do a lot of homework on what can we talk about, what's important, how can I help this individual. High school students. What can I offer?
The answer to that question is pretty easy to see. Even in her professional capacity, Alice shows us all there is always a way to give back and do more when we think we can.
You know, sometimes our paths may lead us in certain directions, but basically mold it like how we want to. It doesn't matter your current circumstances, you can achieve it. I know that might sound cliche, but for me, that kept me going.
Alice believes you can chart your own path and craft a life filled with purpose.
You can see it's pretty hard to keep track of everything Alice does, but congratulations, Alice, for everything that you're doing. This time, we'd like to acknowledge another one of our loyal supporters and thank PwC for their continued sponsorship of the YCLA program. They've been a supporter for many years, and their continued involvement in the YCLA is very much appreciated. And now we'll move on to our third YCLA finalist video. Please meet the ever-entertaining Mr. Matt Brown.
Cayman heritage. At any given moment, you're likely to see Matt Brown somewhere in Cayman entertaining the young and light.
Anyone here like cartoons?
We call it from here introducing his newest creation. A cartoon for kids designed to get them interested in their Caymanian heritage.
Bobo and TV's Island Adventures.
This is a great house.
Matt is no stranger to the spotlight. On its own, he is heavily involved in arts and culture. Music and theater are just some of his other passions. On stage, Matt has the unique ability to humor and drama effort. This multifaceted young man, culture of Cayman, is the best way to keep in mind in the hearts of our youth.
We wanted to reach as many possible. So my goal is to push and just that I do here.
Part of everything he does is the belief that Canadians have something to offer the world.
The concept of the show is to show that we have values, traditional ways.
As I said, ever the entertainer. Congratulations, Matt, and keep on entertaining. Absolutely fantastic. The amount of work, ladies and gentlemen, it takes to put an event of this size together is significant. And I'd like to thank all my colleagues on the YCLA board who've contributed to this evening's event. But just a couple of very big, two special thank yous this evening. First one goes to April Cummings, who aside from doing the lion's share of the work, has also single-handedly coordinated the live broadcast. So I know she's going to be yelling at me in my through the ear here, but because this was not part of the script. But I would like to publicly thank and recognize April for all that she's done. And I'd like to ask our board member, Katie Marin Pentney, if she could make her way over to April and just hand her a small token of our appreciation. She's at the back over there somewhere. But thank you very much, April. Done an amazing job once again. And as many of you will be aware, her governor, Ms. Helen Kilpatrick, will be leaving Cayman in just a few months. And so we wanted to recognize and thank her for this evening for her unwavering and loyal support of the YCLA since she arrived on the island back in 2013. Her Excellency has not just attended every YCLA since she's been here, but she's been a staunch supporter of the program, hosting many events for the program over the last 4 years. And so on behalf of the Board of Directors of the YCLA, Your Excellency, thank you very much for all of your support over the years. And if you don't mind joining me on stage just for a couple of minutes We can present you with a token of our appreciation. So this, the first little gift is a photograph. Every year before the YCLA, Her Excellency hosts a family tea on her front lawn at her residence.
It always rains.
And it regularly rains, yes. And so this is a photo of the last 4 years YCLA finalists that have been hosted by Her Excellency on the front lawn. So it's a photo she can take back, remembering all the young Caymanian leaders during her time. There is, thank you.
That'd be a lovely souvenir.
There is actually one more though we want to give her. We want to give her an honorary recipient of the YCLA. On behalf of the YCLA, congratulations. Thank you very much for all your support. And now for your acceptance.
Thank you, Chris, but there's a why problem. I've really enjoyed supporting the YCLA and all the events, and the thing that I've particularly enjoyed is hosting the dinners for the finalists for the YCLA, because it's been a chance to talk to the young people of Cayman who are so passionate about what they do. But thank you very much for this.
Thank you, and we wish you all the best in whatever your future may hold. And thank you very much again for everything. Let me bring this down. The last year's YCLA was C5's inaugural event. And once again, the team at the Kimpton have pulled out all the stops for us. And a huge thank you to Robin, Jess, and the Kimpton team for all of their help again this year. Thank you very much. We'd also like to thank and recognize Broadhurst attorneys for all their help over the years. They've been the YCLA's attorneys from the outset and have been a great supporter of the program since. So thanks to Peter, Kyle, and their team for all of their support. And I know they are here tonight, so thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for our fourth YCLA finalist video, please meet Miss Faith Geely.
So I've grown up sort of seeing the way that they're and so having a personal experience just sort of resonates almost. So that's really why it's actually the more we teach our children to be more understanding and empathetic, the more willing they are to do it. Are and just their ability not just only so whatever you're good at, whatever you're passionate about, your imprint, even if you just leave the imprint, even if it was just one person. That's what really drives me. Things I'm passionate about and just trying to fight for them.
Thank you, Faith, and congratulations on the amazing inspirational work you do in the community. In the very early days of YCLA, a core group of supporters helped make the vision of showcasing Caymanian leadership a reality. The foster family support has been invaluable over the years, and we'd like to thank Progressive and the foster family for their ongoing support of the YCLA. We'd also like to thank Stone Island for their continued support of the program. Thank you very much to both of those organizations. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the fifth and the final YCLA finalist video, please meet Miss Yentel Magor.
I was raised by a single mom for a good amount of time, and I didn't notice at the time that things weren't great. You know, I just thought, hey, we're all having dinner around the table, when the reality was going through the third grade. She wanted to make their lives better, and she decided to run her own security company. So she tried successful, it became the largest security. And she proved to me that through hard work and through determination and staying focused on your goals, you can literally achieve anything. At the convention conference, the kids of the beach, I have my own Youth Community Excellence Award program. It all started. You're like, oh my gosh, this means something to people, you know, and going out and seeing how everyone was learning, I had to. And it shouldn't just be dating in a situation like that, but at all costs, at any time, because every day someone's trouble. And that's when it clicked to me. So I stuck with it for over 10 years in any capacity that I can, and one of the limited times now where I can give career advice to these young ladies in terms of what you want to be. I love my children. See how unified Jamaica is, unified America, so patriotic. And I want to be like that in my own country, every aspect. I need to be a patriot.
Thanks, Yentel, and again, congratulations to everything that you do in the community. I don't know how you keep up with it all, but well done. And our final sponsor shout-out of this evening goes to Kensington Management and Bodden & Bodden Attorneys. Thanks to both of these leading organizations for their sponsorship support again this year. It's greatly appreciated. And thank you once again to all our sponsors for all your generous support. Now my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce you to tonight's keynote speaker. At the age of 12, Craig Kielberger saw and read a headline in the Toronto Star newspaper that would ultimately change his life. It was about a young Pakistani boy named Iqbal Masih, who was forced into bonded labor in a carpet factory at the age of just 4 years old. By the age of 12, Iqbal became an international figurehead for the fight against child labor. But unfortunately, that courageous fight would ultimately cost him his life, and he was brutally murdered at the tender age of 12. Craig couldn't understand how a boy his own age could be murdered for standing up to the brutality of child labor, and he made it his mission to do something about it. 22 years later, he's still doing it, and the impact he and his team have had is nothing short of astonishing. He's become an icon in his native Canada and around the world, and today he and his brother Mark lead the We organization, an organization that has become one of the most recognized and successful social impact and youth movements anywhere in the world. And before we invite Craig up, we have a short video to show you a little bit about the We organization.
Welcome to the world of We. We is a movement that brings people together and gives them tools to change the world. Through the We charity, we connect, unite, and create positive change. We do this domestically through schools, empowering a generation of youth to change the world. Internationally through We villages, empowering families to break the cycle of poverty. With We social enterprise a child overseas, living in passion, we come together on Weekend, a powerful, life-changing experience with world-renowned speakers and performers, mixed with real inspirational stories of change. You can't buy a ticket. You earn your entry by taking action on one local and one global cause. Being empowered to change the world, the movement is all about taking the pledge at lead-off begins.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium one of the more inspirational speakers you'll ever hear, our 2017 YCLA keynote, Mr. Craig Kielberger.
Good evening. Firstly, allow me to say, all protocol having been observed, that it's an honor to be able to join such a distinguished group of individuals here this evening. Firstly, also, Chris, thank you for the very kind words. To the finalists, that was spectacular, seeing those videos. Can we give them another round of applause? Absolutely breathtaking. I love the diversity of causes represented, from culture to the environment, from empowering women to inclusiveness, from supporting heritage to all the different issues that were covered. In fact, the one small caveat I'd add is I don't think we're celebrating leaders of tomorrow, we're celebrating leaders of today with such remarkable young people. And I also want to say, on behalf of my wife and I, we had the pleasure to visit. You have an extraordinarily beautiful country. But not only is it visually beautiful, but every single person we've met, in their kindness, in their authenticity, in their grace, in their warmth, and in their welcoming. And a country that would come together to celebrate young people as you're doing through these awards, that is not only worthy of celebrating the youth, but worthy of celebrating the culture of this country, because that is a culture that you have now elevated through this, by looking to the next generation in such a beautiful way. I think that tells a great deal to the world about the Caymans, that you would choose to celebrate your young. It's been a pleasure and privilege to be with you here, and if I can ask that we could have the slides that are coming up from the presentation, thank you. In the precious moments that I have with you, firstly, I'm humbled to stand in front of you, given the amazing stories of youth we've just heard, and to reinforce a message that their stories very much embrace, which is the message that anyone can change the world. You know, as Chris shared with you, it was a young boy who first inspired us to start a charity. A young boy from Pakistan who was sold into slavery, who escapes, who speaks out passionately so, and who is murdered at 12 years of age. Now, frankly, Chris was very generous in his description about how we got involved. Truth be told, I wasn't looking for a cause. I was 12, and I was looking for the comics in the newspaper. And I saw this on the front page. And I tore it, and I brought it to my class, and I said, I need your help. And I asked who will join. 11 hands went up, so 11 plus me. There were 12 of us. At the time, we were all 12 years old. So we proudly named ourselves the Group of 12 12-year-olds. It lasted for about 2 weeks until one of us had our 13th birthday. Somehow we didn't see that coming. And eventually the We organization was born. You know, we had this crazy dream to build a school to help kids in Asia, some of the children who were trying to escape from slavery and bonded labor. People laughed at us. They said that we were too young, maybe something that a lot of the finalists have heard here. They said we had to wait until we were adults, positions of influence, run for office, become CEOs, then you can change things in the world. But as tonight's event celebrates, young people have idealism, passion, and just the right dose of shameless naivety to help change this world. Not only did we manage to build our first school, we then set a goal while we were in high school to build 10 schools. Now, we were from middle-class kids. This was seemingly an impossible task, but we were joined by other young people who put up their hands and said, we too want to serve. And from 10 schools, our goal grew to build 100 schools around the world. And as time passed from 100 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 700 schools around the world to 8 to 9 to over 1,000 schools that we've built in schoolhouses in Asia and Africa and Latin America, educating with hundreds of thousands of children graduating, continuing on their education. The reason I share that with you is because that all started while we were kids, passionate to make a difference. Continuing with clean water and jobs to empower communities and food security to help farmers increase their yields and healthcare, and today it works with over 1 million beneficiaries around the world. But it all started because of one boy in Pakistan who was, and you know, those in this room may be able to relate, those on television, a young boy in Pakistan who was born into very humble beginnings, but whose story set off a chain of events by his courage that inspired and touched the lives of so many. You know, over these years, what I've come to realize is that so often the media has misportrayed young people. That it's not the me generation. It's not the generation that only looks down on their smartphones. That it's actually the we generation. The most connected, globally minded, most passionate to create social progress. As we've seen in these amazing young people who are nominated. For those of you who are in this room, I know many of you are the pillars of the business community. Those of you watching through television or online. Young people, your generation of workers, and maybe your future generation of entrepreneurial bosses, are passionate and look for environment and social issues when they choose which companies to work for. You know, they find jobs more fulfilling when that job gives back to make a difference. But perhaps my favorite stat is that they're even willing to take a pay cut. Not that we're advocating for that, but they're placing so often doing good over some of the traditional definitions of success. We dream of the day that young people are given the opportunity to serve their country. Every young person. You know, over 20-odd years, you heard the earlier part of my story that we started as a charity, a group of kids to make a difference. Today, we've now grown from that to help the next young person to make a difference. The next 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 17-year-old to find their cause with the support to get involved. Over 15,000 schools across the US and Canada, the UK, and even across the Caribbean that I'll talk about. We have the honor to work with to bring service learning into classrooms. We fundamentally believe that students learn best by doing, and they should do it through service. And not to wait until they reach positions of influence, but every young person to serve their country, even as students, to develop that active citizenship. So how does that come alive? Well, we work with groups like the College Board. Some of you might know it's the Association of Colleges and Universities. They provide in the US things like the SATs or advanced placement courses. We work in the UK and others. And to create courses and materials that teach through doing. So you learn your computer science by coding apps for charity. You learn your biology by testing water in your community. You learn foreign languages by connecting with others around the world and to help support them to lift themselves out of poverty. In fact, we dream of the day that every young person can serve. So we help bring this alive through speaking tours and Skype coaching sessions and resources and professional development training for teachers and everything that a school needs to become not only a place of learning, but also a place of engagement. We've seen this through the Caribbean, where we've had the honor to over 200 schools where we now work with to bring service alive in various ways. And then we celebrate them. We celebrate young people through an event we do called We Day. Why? Because tonight's event, we need more of these. In fact, we dream of the day that every country, that every community will have one. We dream of the day that every community will have a celebration of its young people, the Academy Awards of doing good, the Grey Cup or Super Bowl or FIFA of changing the world. So we pack out the biggest stadiums that a city has to bring together young people, just like you're doing tonight. To bring together youth who have all earned their ticket through service. It's free to attend a We Day, but you have to have helped at least one local cause and one global cause. And we want to make that the celebration. So I want to share with you a video clip of what a We Day looks like when it comes to a region and when it celebrates its young people.
Born out of a dream, two brothers, fueled by the desire for change, by the hope that the world can be a better place. They called it We Day.
More than an event, it launches a year of actions for social change.
You can't buy a ticket to We Day. You
service.
Tens of thousands in attendance.
Hundreds of thousands watching online.
Millions watching on TV.
We Day is the movement of our time.
The We movement helps to support your passion for a better world.
It's time to stop complaining that there's nothing to be done and instead actively take steps, truly living we.
Together, we can truly live we.
For everything that divides us, there is so much more that unites. Believe in the power of we.
I stand here in front of you as living proof that we can redefine what is possible.
I tried to change who I am, and I realized I don't know how to be anything but myself.
I know we all have some weaknesses, but it does not mean that we don't deserve to be special.
I was born with one finger on my left hand and a lower leg that was curved in, and this hasn't slowed me down at all.
We Day is all of you, the few, the dedicated, coming together to change this world. Tonight, we are young, so let's set the world on fire. We can burn brighter.
Some people don't think it's cool to help others. Personally, I think it's the coolest thing in the world.
We Day was phenomenal. I've never experienced anything like this before.
We Day has changed my life. Like, I'm so impacted. I can't even describe to you. I'm so excited to get started.
Are you ready to change the world?
You guys are awesome, We Day.
Just last week, we had 20,000 young people come together in Canada. Next week, on Wednesday, we have 20,000 in Minnesota. We then travel to the UK in Wembley. We have another, we're packing out Wembley. I'm not sure what the total number is. And just recently, in fact, we had Trinidad and Tobago. We're our first one in the region, which we were excited to celebrate, to bring together amazing youth. They support any cause, 7,000 different charities. It's not meant to replace, it's meant to enhance what they do. And it gets to honor these young people, to say that every single youth gets to give back. They get to pick a cause they care about, roll up their sleeves, and to make a difference. If I could have the next slide, please. You know, today it's the final message I'd love to leave with you as we celebrate young people is not only one of celebrating the power of youth, but celebrating the power of generations. Generations coming together to see grandparents and grandkids, to see mothers and fathers, nieces and nephews, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, to see so many different generations here, but also watching on television. There's something incredibly powerful about sharing a goal that we saw here in supporting young people. You know, one of the regions where we work around the world is we've had the honor to work high in the Andes Mountains in Ecuador. In a region that's so rural, with the indigenous population who refer to themselves there as the Purhe Indians. In a region so isolated that the only way to get here is a winding mountain goat path. Literally. And so there's no roads to access. To bring supplies, you load them on the back of mules and send them up the tiny winding mountain goat path. So we had all our building supplies for schools. We had them on the back of mules, the wood, the cement on the back going up the tiny path, the local community. It was harvest season. So they had all that they were harvesting, the beans, the maize on the back of mules. They were going down the tiny winding goat path. And there was literally a traffic jam of mules. And by the time theirs went to market and ours finally got up to the village, we arrived quite late. In fact, so late we only had a day left for our build. We turned to the village chief. We bowed our heads with great respect, as per the culture. And we said, we apologize, but we can't build a school. It is not enough time. Don't worry, we'll have more volunteers come in. They'll be arriving in a few weeks. We'll build it together then. We'll finish it. But just not now. She listened very politely. She nodded her head and she said, okay, let's finish it now. And we thought maybe it was a translation challenge because we were speaking in English and it was being translated to Spanish and Spanish into Quechua, to the local language, Quechua. And through all that translation, we thought we'd try again. And so we said, well, we're on planes, we're flying home. Even if the whole village worked together, it's not physically possible. Even if everyone stopped what they were doing and joined in, it's not possible. We cannot build a school this quickly. These schools are massive. There's cement and wood and rolls. Whole explanation. We said, don't worry, we have more volunteers coming in a few weeks. We'll finish it then. She listened and nodded her head very politely. She said, okay, let's finish it now. And she took a few steps outside of her home and she shouted this one word in Quechua, in her language. And the one word she shouted was Minga. Minga. Never heard this word before, no idea what it meant. She walked up to us and said, see, problem solved. And we said, yes, thank you. That was wonderful. No idea what was going on, except the men, when they heard that, they dropped their tools in peak harvest season. And the children came together. And the women started to actually organize them because the women were in charge. The women brought them all together. And the children went running to neighboring communities. There's no phones, there's no electricity where we were. So they would literally run like the Greco-Roman times. They would run for hours, arrive panting, exhausted, and tell them a minga's happening. And then the next village would rally all its children, and they would send them out and tell them that a minga's happening, and they would start walking and walking and walking. What started with a few people, then dozens, then hundreds came together in this incredible outpouring. And they lay the foundation stones. They hoisted the walls. We had the roof up. Hundreds of people came together. People who would never benefit from this school. People who walked for hours and hours throughout the night from the neighboring villages. Strangers who were passing through the village on the way to the market. They stopped. They risked their crops, going bad and rotting as they helped to lay these foundations. Everyone joined in this incredible outpouring, this incredible spirit. And I bowed my head to the village chief and I said, what is a minga? And she looked at us. And again, in her language, in Quechua, she started to explain that a minga is a coming together of people to work for the collective good. And it was translated into Spanish, minga, coming together people to work for the collective good. It was translated from that into English, minga, coming together people to work for the collective good. And eventually,